This is Wissahickon Art, and today we have a delightful treat for you all. We have Marco Sanchez being interviewed by me, Justin Mellon. So, we'll start off with a few simple questions. Why are you creative?
I guess you could say I'm creative because I choose to make art, but I don't have any guidelines when I make it. I kind of just take a piece of paper or whatever it is I choose to work on and I start right up. And I do feel that that's what makes me creative. I don't call myself a creative person, I just do it.
Good. Sounds great. So, who or what are your greatest influences?
My greatest influences are two artists by the name of Keith Haring and Jean-Michel Basquiat. I grew up with a few artists in my household, Miranda Sanchez and Saul Sanchez, who both went to this school, and I took a lot of influence from them. Basically, every artist I've come into contact with, I've taken a little bit of influence from, which has led me to what I do now.
Do you have any political influence considering your theme?
With this theme, I have a big political influence. It discusses the battle of power between Democrats and Republicans, and we see it every 2 years when elections comes around. People are arguing, bickering, who's better, who's worse, who's right for us. And that's what this whole display shows. It shows the struggle for power, struggle for money, struggle for everything, and it's just, we live in it and we have to deal with it every day.
Very deep. Now, how do you start a painting?
Well, when I started painting, I always make sure that I prime the piece first. That way, there's one thing that the piece has that's a constant. It's always going to be there. But after I finish that, I'm not sure where my piece is going. It just kind of takes itself. I'll start making a brushstroke and it just goes. When it stops, nobody knows. Like, not to be a Dr. Seuss kind of thing, but it's art. It's what I do.
Now, what do you think while you're painting?
Well, as I continue to paint, or in the process of making a painting, I'll start to have somewhat of a storyline that I'm following, so I try to stick with that. I just try to stick with the same topic of what I'm going with, and I try to make sure that I'm fulfilling whatever I'm looking for. With this, it was like I have a few people in this painting, so I have to make sure that I capture the people at their fullest. I have to make sure that they are what I want them to be. And once I decided that it was finished, I had to make sure that it was finished. I had to know for myself, all right, is this the best that I can be? And I feel that I accomplished that.
Very interesting. Well, how do you know when you're finished a painting?
It's pretty hard for any artist to know when they're finished a painting, but as you can see with the pieces on the floor, I really tried to capture everything and not leave a single space blank, which is what made me feel like these were finished. But with these, I felt like they blended together to tell a collective story, and each piece didn't need to be necessarily done, but they needed to come together in some way so that the whole display was finished.
Now, what is the significance in the mark making in your paintings? I know you have a lot of various shapes and whatnot.
Right. Well, what a lot of artists look for with this particular style of art is solid, bold lines, but what I do is a little bit different from that. The lines are not very solid, they're very blurred almost, and you can see that with many of these pieces. But the line quality, it changes, and that's what I like about it. There's no definite line quality. And that also adds to the piece, because people wonder, well, is it supposed to be like that? Did he mean to do that? Or did he do that by accident? It keeps the viewer guessing.
Yeah. Well, and how does the mark making apply to your figures?
I think it varies with different figures, because I'll have some abstract pieces in here, and they're not necessarily containing the figure. It's kind of just giving off an emotion of the figure. But with other things, it's like I have red inside a figure and a black line, showing you what that figure looks like. I guess it really depends on which piece you're looking at to determine what the significance is of the line quality.
So what kind of reaction do you try to evoke from the viewer?
It always depends on the piece that I'm working on. With this, I wanted to get people to think about what is the significance of politics, because a lot of kids in our school and even a lot of teachers, they have no care for it. And they stand around arguing and bickering, why do I have to pay my taxes? Why do I have this person in office? When they hold some of that power. And I want people to know what they could be voting for.
Right. How does that reaction satisfy you? Does it satisfy you?
I don't necessarily need to see a reaction from the people to feel satisfaction. With this, I just felt I captured an image, I captured an idea, and that made me satisfied. People read my artist statement and they can get an idea of what I was trying to do. And that, if I feel satisfied with it, if I feel like I accomplished what I wanted to do, then that's enough for me.
And do you feel a sense of accomplishment with your work and this installation?
I feel like I did everything that I could possibly do to make this the best that I did, and I feel like I really did accomplish that.
All right.
Thank
That was
you very
great.
much.
That's the end of the interview.